Hello and welcome to my kitchen. I'm so happy to have you here. Today we are creating a delicious fall dinner. We're going to do stuffed acorn squash with Italian sausage and rice. I also am going to tell you about a vegetarian version of that, and I also am going to show you how to use the same Italian sausage filling to make dinner for another night this week. And I also have an idea for your lunch tomorrow. The first thing I'm going to do is get this squash in the oven. And you want to be really careful when you're cutting these things because they're really hard on the outside and you don't want to have any accidents in your kitchen. So I'm using kind of a long knife that is helpful, I think. And first I'm just going to cut off the stem part. This one doesn't have a big stem on it, but there used to be a stem there. And I want to cut that off because that is really hard to cut through. So I'm just going to stick my knife in there, make a fist, and just gently wedge it down, pushing down with my elbow. Boom, there we go. And so, cool, that makes it a lot easier. So now look, now I have a flat surface to cut it on, and it's gonna be a lot easier to make these in equal portions. I want 2 portions out of my acorn squash. So I'm gonna go right down the middle and just rock it and see, look at how easy that was. Now we have 2 perfect halves. I'm going to scoop the seeds out here, and then I'm going to drizzle it with a little bit of olive oil and salt and pepper, and we're going to stick it in the oven at about 375 for about 30 minutes. I like to cook the squash flat side down first and then turn it up for the last 15 minutes. So this is kind of a multi-step recipe, but it's easy and it's quick. And while these squash are cooking, we'll be able to get all the filling and everything else ready. Olive oil on these and a little bit of salt and pepper. And then I'm going to smooth that all around. A little fresh cracked pepper, and I have a little salt here. Just a little bit. This is kind of a bigger flaky Maldon salt. Very yummy. Okay, so I'm just gonna smooth those around flat side down, and then I'm gonna get these in the oven. The next thing I wanna do is get the rice on the stove top. And we live in the mountains now, we're up in Montana, and I have found that the rice cooks best when I boil the water first. So I'm gonna boil 2 cups of water, and as soon as that water comes to a boil, I'll add 1 cup of rice, stir it once or twice, turn it down to low, cover, and let it cook for about 20 minutes. Welcome to my kitchen today. My name is Steph, and I'm so glad you're here. We've got the squash in the oven, we've got the rice on the stovetop, and now we're gonna make the filling. I hope that you'll hang out here with me. I'm cooking up all kinds of delicious, yummy food. I'm a holistic health coach, and I help you eat better, feel better, balance your nervous system so you can have more fun with your family, more focus, more energy, more of good of everything. So thanks for coming today, and I hope that you really love this menu. To start our filling for the acorn squash, we're gonna do Italian sausage with some vegetables. And so I'm gonna start first by cutting an onion. You can use a yellow onion, you can use a white onion. I also have a little bit of shallot. We're gonna add that as well. So I'm gonna do for today just a half an onion. And the fun thing about this menu is that you can swap out the meat however you like. So I'm doing Italian sausage today from a local place that makes Italian sausage near us, but you could use ground turkey, you could use ground chicken, you could use just regular ground beef, you could do ground pork, any of those things, but a ground meat of any kind will be great. If you want to do a vegetarian style version, you could use you could do northern beans instead. I don't want to give you too many options, but the other thing you could do is instead of doing rice, you could use quinoa. So there are lots of options. You can make it work for your family. What I want to help you do is look forward to cooking a little bit more and make it fun in the kitchen and get your kids involved, give everybody a job, or if you want peace and quiet in the kitchen, hey, kick everybody out. Go have them go outside for a little while. Put your headphones on with some nice music. Or hey, you could watch this video while you're cooking dinner. That would be fun. So bring me into your kitchen. We want dinner to be fun because you put all your good energy into your dinner and then your family is even more nourished. That's a trick that nobody knows is when you're putting good juju in your food, it actually tastes better. Okay, I'm gonna get these onions in the skillet and we're gonna start building our flavors. I like to keep my onions in a glass container in the refrigerator so that you have the other half ready for next time. Okay, so what's next? Let's cut up some shallot. Shallot is a really nice flavor, and it's kind of between a garlic and an onion. So instead of garlic today, I'm using shallot. So that way it won't be too strong, but we are gonna add, actually, you know, I'm using Italian sausage today, which has a lot of flavor in it. So I'm not gonna go too crazy with all the extra spices. Okay, I'm having trouble getting the paper. Okay, so I just like to pull all the papery skin off, and I'm going to go ahead and just cut it down lengthwise a couple of times, and then I'm gonna just go straight down the middle. And a sharp knife is another trick and tool for your kitchen to make life easier. Of course, you don't want to ever cut yourself, but a dull knife is actually more dangerous than a sharp knife. So most people cut themselves with a knife when they're either washing it or because it's dull and it slips and it cuts you. So use a sharp knife, be careful, pay attention to what you're doing, and keep your fingers out of the way. Shallot's going in with the onions. I put just a little bit of olive oil in there, so they're starting to cook and they already smell amazing. Pretty much every recipe that I make, I am always trying to add more vegetables. Adding more vegetables gives you all that good fiber and lots of vitamins and minerals. So you always want to be adding vegetables in wherever you can sneak them in. So in this recipe, we've got the onions, we've got the shallots. I'm gonna chop up 2 carrots, and then I'm gonna do a few ribs of celery, and then I'm gonna add some mushrooms and cook all of that together with the Italian sausage. My rice came to a boil, so I stirred it 3 times, and I'm gonna turn it down to low and put the lid and set the timer for about 18 to 20 minutes. I'm using basmati rice today in this recipe. Let's chop up these carrots real quick. And I am going to make it easier again. Always make your food easier to cut. Keep your fingers out of the way. So I'm always going for a flat surface. So I'm cutting these carrots into little half moons, I guess you could say. This one's kind of bigger, so I'm gonna cut that again. Don't worry if they're not all the same size. They will be just fine. It's always good to have little bits of carrots that are a little bit firmer and some that are a little bit softer, and that's just gonna happen naturally. So always try to make your cooking fun and not a bunch of perfection. Because if you're going for perfection, you'll never have fun doing it. So just chop away these carrots, don't worry too much, and we're going to add these to the onions and shallots that are cooking away in my stove pot over here. These ribs of celery are a little bit on the big side, so I'm just gonna do 2 of these. So I just cut the ends off, I gave them a quick wash and some cold water, and then I'm just gonna cut them right down the middle. This will make them a better size for cooking and for fitting into our little acorn squash stuffing. So just chop away. Perfect. Okay, celery going in with the other vegetables. I'm gonna let those vegetables cook a little bit while before I add the Italian sausage, and in the meantime I'm going to chop up some mushrooms. These are baby bella mushrooms, and they are really nice flavor, and I'm making kind of a big batch of this Italian sausage filling because I'm going to use it for a couple of other meals, and I'm going to show you how to make this into delicious lasagna rolls. Yummy. We're gonna do that in this other video, and I'll have the link below so you can see the lasagna rolls. But what I want you to think about is how to get the most bang for your buck. So when you're cooking a meal, like obviously you don't have to cook dinner every single night, but when you're cooking a meal, if you can think a little bit about how to repurpose what you're making for a couple of meals. Now, I'll tell you, I'm not a huge fan of leftovers, so that's why I like to make one main part of the meal and use it a couple of different ways as much as possible. The other thing I really want you to think about is how can you have a little bit extra dinner so that you have a plan for lunch tomorrow. And a big part of what I recommend to my clients is so many of us just rush right through lunch, we completely skip it, and then we don't have energy in the afternoon, and then we start grabbing for snacks or caffeine or sugar or some kind of pick-me-up, and it's just not gonna make you feel very good. So if you stop and have a real lunch and you have a plan for lunch, it's even easier to sit down at home and have real food that you made. So I want to show you, at the end of this video, I'll show you how to come up with lunch for tomorrow. I'm just gonna put these mushrooms on the side for right now. I'm gonna check on my vegetables that are sauteing up. You probably can hear them right on the stove. I'm gonna bring this over here so you can see this beautiful vegetables and how yummy, and they're cooked just barely, really. I want them to be mostly al dente right now because I want to add in the sausage. And remember, these are going to be cooking for a little bit more. So they're going to cook together with this filling, and then it's going to cook a little bit again more in the acorn squash. And if you use this filling to make the lasagna rolls, then we're going to be rolling it up in the lasagna. And so we're just kind of building flavors here. We're cooking it little by little by little. Now this Italian sausage just falls apart. I didn't have to take it out of the casing or anything, but if you have a thick casing on your Italian sausage, I would go ahead and pull the meat out of that. But this is a really thin casing, so I'm going to stir this all together and let it cook, and then I'll add the mushrooms at the very end. The Italian sausage is cooking up nicely, so I'm gonna add some fresh Italian leaf parsley. And I'm just gonna, well actually let me show you my trick. I was pulling some leaves out with my hands, but we just need a little bit of parsley for this recipe. But if you go ahead and give it a nice little wash and then line it up in your hand here together in a little bundle, and then use your knife and just kind of gently skim the leaves, and look at that. All the leaves come right off of the stem. I'll pull those little stems out. But see, look at that. That's a pretty handy trick. So give these a nice rough chop, and again, remember, always keeping your fingers out of the way. But the more you cook and the more you use knives and utensils, the more fun it is, because it just becomes easier and you get more comfortable doing it. And fresh herbs add a lot of amazing flavor. They also add some really nice nutrients, like calcium, for example, is really high in parsley and in cilantro. Okay, I'm gonna grab the Italian sausage, is cooking up nicely, so I'm gonna bring that over here for a sec, and we're gonna add a couple things to it. Look at this. We have this Italian sausage, and the carrots, and the shallots, and the celery are all cooking really nicely, and it smells delicious. And I'm going to now add, I probably could have used a slightly bigger pot, but this will work. And I'm gonna put the mushrooms in here now, and I'm gonna let those cook. And I'm gonna go ahead and put the parsley in now. You can put the parsley in later if you like a little bit stronger flavor, but I like the parsley to be cooked a little bit in the sauce with everything else. So I'm just gonna kind of make this work, and it's gonna shrink down. I have the mushrooms cooking in the sausage, and everything is getting really close. Now I'm going to just check on these squash, the acorn squash, and they look really good. I'm just gonna flip them over. You can give them, oh yeah, they're perfect. So you can give them a little, the pan's hot, of course, so you can give them a little test by just poking it with your knife, and they're nice and tender. So I'm gonna flip them over, and I'm going to cook these just for like 5 or 10 more minutes while I'm assembling all the other parts and pieces. The rice is almost ready, the filling's almost ready, and we're getting close. It's gonna be delicious. I'm gonna add a little heavy cream. I just spilled it on me. I'm gonna add a little heavy cream to our Italian sausage filling. Not a lot, 3 or 4 tablespoons maybe, and we're gonna stir this in and let that kind of come together, and then we're going to stuff the squash, and I'll show you how it all comes together. Of course, you can omit the heavy cream if you don't want to add the heavy cream into your filling, but it just gives a nice creaminess, and it kind of helps bring it all together. Our rice is perfect. Everything smells delicious. We are bringing it all together. Let's try 2 cups. 2 cups of the sausage filling. Yeah, let's do that. 2 cups of the sausage filling, and I'm gonna add 1 cup of rice for our filling for the acorn squash. do a cup of basmati rice. I don't want it to be too much rice or too much meat, and I want to make sure that I'm having some leftovers to make some other delicious stuff later on, so that we are planning ahead and we are using all of our ingredients wisely. We're going to get the most bang for our buck out of what we are cooking today. So let's see how this portions out. We might want a little bit more of the Italian sausage vegetable filling. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's do one more scoop. That's the other fun thing about cooking, is once you get a little bit more comfortable cooking in the kitchen, you feel like you can follow a recipe, but it doesn't have to be perfect and exact. And you don't have to check the recipe a million times. You want to be relaxed, and you want to have fun, and you want it to be free, and you want it to be, casual and easy. It doesn't have to be over the top, perfect, everything exact. And the more you practice that, the more fun you'll have cooking, and you'll discover new recipes. You'll just kind of get started with one recipe, and then you'll notice that it's become something different. But that's amazing, because then it keeps the variety and it keeps everything interesting, and you don't get so tired of making the same thing all the time. So I am loading up these acorn squash. This is actually the perfect amount, because I like it to be overflowing, because not only is it delicious when you have the meat and the rice ratio good, you also want to have the filling to the acorn squash ratio good as well. Now, I do not love a lot of cheese, but my husband loves cheese. So I'm going to cook these in the oven for about 10 minutes, and then I'm going to put some Monterey Jack cheese on top of one of them, and I'm going to keep the other one without the cheese. The squash came out so yummy. Check those out. This is like everything in one little meal. So you have all your vegetables, you have tons of fiber, you have healthy protein, you have clean burning carbs. The basmati rice is a clean burning carb. So you have all of these textures. It will give you lots of good energy. It's 100% real food, nothing processed at all. Well, I suppose the cheese, is the cheese processed? I don't know. Anyway, Monterey Jack cheese, if you want to top it off with a little Monterey Jack cheese, and that just gives it a nice little extra creamy little bit. But I'm going to skip the cheese, and I'm going to put some cheese on here for my husband's acorn squash, and he loves cheese, so I'm giving him the cheese, and I can heat this back up for a minute. But I'm going to just serve this acorn squash up. It is just so yummy and delicious. Look at that. Bon appetit. So stick around. I'm going to show you how to throw together a quick lunch for tomorrow. Okay, now imagine we fast forward to tomorrow and you're hungry and you've had a busy morning and you're ready for some lunch. We're just gonna throw this into a really nice quick bowl, a little rice bowl. I've got some organic baby romaine leaves here. So first I'm gonna make a little base with the baby romaine. If you don't want to do a salad as your base, you could absolutely do some quick steamed broccoli. You could do cauliflower or spinach or anything like that. I'm going to put just a little bit of red wine vinegar on here, and then I'm going to add some olive oil to the greens. Doing a little salt and pepper, a little bit of olive oil and red wine vinegar. You could also use apple cider vinegar, and I'm just going to kind of stir this together. What I was going to say is, if you like salad, when you're adding vinegar and oil, you're actually giving it a little bit of jump start on the digestive fire. So vinegar and oil actually cooks your salad. So it makes it more digestible, and it makes it delicious, of course. Do a little scoop of my Italian seasoning, my Italian sausage seasoning, my Italian sausage filling. And then I'm going to do a little bit of rice on the side. And I'm going to do a little bit of, let's see, I like a little bit of olive oil and just a tiny bit of salt on my rice. So you can put butter, of course you could put butter, but you could easily, if you already had these things cooked, you could easily just heat this up, and you're gonna have lunch in about 3 minutes. I have one more thing I wanna add. For a little bit of crunch, I wanna add some pumpkin seeds on there. So I'm just gonna put a little handful of pumpkin seeds to mix it all in. I also love sunflower seeds. You could also add pine nuts, or you could add walnuts, or you could add some chopped pecans. Any kind of nuts or seeds will kind of up level your lunch, and it's so yummy and easy, and you could just mix this all up and it will be delicious. And you have lunch for the next day. You had an amazing dinner for your family. You can, of course, make as many acorn squash as you want. This is so delicious and so good and so easy, and it comes together really quickly, and it's a beautiful fall, warm, yummy menu. And make sure you're always thinking about lunch the next day. It's the easiest way to do meal prep, is to just create a different version of your dinner for lunch tomorrow. So my name is Steph. Thanks for hanging out with me in the kitchen. I have so much fun making these videos. Please give us a thumbs up and please subscribe if you would like to be notified when new videos come up. Thank you again for being here with me today. I'm Steph, and I'll see you next time in the kitchen.